Look, I got some free postcards before seeing this movie. Pretty cool. You know what else we should have been given before seeing this movie? Some tissues, because this movie is so sad. What is up, everybody? Random Man here, bringing you my review for the film adaptation of Hamnet in one take, based on the 2020 novel of the same name by Maggie O'Farrell. The plot of this historical drama follows the relationship between Agnes and William Shakespeare and the impact of the tragic death of their 11-year-old son, Hamnet, leading to the creation of William's play, Hamlet. Going into this movie, it was one of my most anticipated films of the year, as it is the latest film directed by Chloe Zhao. She is mostly known to have directed smaller independent films, like her directorial debut from 2015, Songs My Brothers Taught Me, which I thought was a solid effort. Then she got further attention and acclaim for her next film, The Rider, which I loved. And then 2020 saw the release of her third film, Nomadland, which became my favorite movie of that year and saw her win 2 Academy Awards for Best Picture and Best Director. And then after that, the year after in 2021, that saw the release of her rendition, or addition, I should say, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Eternals, which I liked more than most people did. I know that did not get the best reception ever, but I saw a lot of potential and a lot of ideas, even if they did not come together well. And it's quite different for what a Marvel Cinematic Universe film is, with her own touch and everything. But now we fast forward 4 years later to seeing her go back to her more smaller and intimate roots with Hamnet. This movie has been going around the festival circuit and getting all sorts of acclaim, winning a bunch of audience awards at various festivals it screened at. And I was really looking forward to seeing this and saw an opportunity to see this movie early. So select AMC theaters in my area were showing this movie in their Dolby cinemas, which I was luckily able to go ahead and catch a screening of this thing earlier today, specifically for me at a theater that has reopened after being closed down last year and rebranded as an AMC theater. And like I showed off in the intro, I was given a bunch of postcards for seeing this specific screening, and this film does not get a theatrical release in a limited capacity here in the United States until next weekend for the Thanksgiving holiday. So without further ado, starting out with the cast and their performances, we have Jessie Buckley as Agnes. Now, the real name of this real-life counterpart is actually Anne Hathaway. Obviously, I don't think she would have been named that whether this movie was based on the book or not, but in any sense, Agnes here, played by Jessie Buckley, I think gives one of the best lead performances of any movie that I've seen in 2025. And I'm going to go ahead and say this right now, that the race for Best Actress at the Oscars is over. It is over, as this performance is quite grueling to watch in many instances, but also quite tender. And we see how identifiable she is with a lot of the close-ups that we have, as just seeing what she is going through and, falling in love with William Shakespeare, becoming a mom, but then tragedy striking and all of this coming in between. Buckley really goes through the ringer in this movie, and I first took notice of her in the 2019 HBO miniseries Chernobyl, and then she got her first Oscar nomination for playing the younger version of Olivia Colman's character in The Lost Daughter. And now, again, not only do I think that she's going to get her next Oscar nomination for this film, she's going to win. She is going to run away with this award, and I will be shocked, with a capital S, if she does not sweep the Best Actress race this coming award season. Then we have William Shakespeare himself, played by Paul Mescal. So a lot of people most notably recognize him from last year's Gladiator 2, but a lot more people before that saw him in a smaller film like After Sun, which I think is one of the best movies of the decade so far. And he personally got an Oscar nomination for Best Actor for this film. I think he's going to get his next Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor here. And, not too much attention is brought on him in a stereotypical sense for him playing a big figure like William Shakespeare, one of the most famous playwrights of all time. As he is in and out of the movie for quite a bit of it, as, of course, he falls in love with Agnes early on, and then he is away for some of it because he goes off to London to go ahead and build up his theater troupe, build a theater, of course, becoming the William Shakespeare that we all know. And I think that with his character, there's still an aura of tragedy with him and a bunch of devastation because, of course, he is a father of a son that him and his wife would eventually lose. And it's something that shows off like how he's great at these kind of smaller, more quiet performances when the moments need to have him do that. There are some bigger, more boisterous outbursts that he has in this movie in certain points. But I think that here, like also bouncing off of Buckley, the chemistry between the both of them, I think is off the charts amazing. We see like what he can do as a performer here. And there are other notable names here, like Emily Watson, who plays the mother to William Shakespeare. Joe Alwyn plays the brother to Agnes. And then Jacoby Jupe plays the titular Hamnet himself. And this is one of the best child performances that I've seen in any movie, maybe ever, for sure this year. And then the other actors or actresses who play his sisters do well too. But really, it is the leading performances from Buckley and Mescal that are most of the movie itself. And of course, especially Buckley, who is going to be a shoo-in to win the Best Actress Oscar, among other awards this coming awards season. Then we get into the writing. The writing of this film was done by both Chloe Zhao and the book's author, Maggie O'Farrell. Now, I've never read the book that this movie is based on, but I will say that I'm a sucker for historical films like this one. I mean, Shakespeare has been portrayed many, many times in the course of cinematic history. And then, of course, his plays have been adapted numerous times over the various decades. And what we see here is basically part biopic, if you would, but given that this is based on a book, I don't know how 100% accurate or not this movie is to real life. So just taking it at face value, or just what the movie is presenting to us, seeing what the writing sets up in the romance between Agnes and William Shakespeare, and then them becoming parents, but then also William wanting to go ahead and be a playwright, and then leaving behind his family in many moments, to go ahead and do his dream, while Agnes is dealing with the whole hardship, or just like the big task, I would say, of becoming a mother. But then, of course, tragedy does strike at a specific moment. And the movie builds to this. We get to see a sense of their family life at first, and then them becoming new parents. Things seem great, even with the whole thing of William going off and trying to be a successful playwright and doing his own theater company and troupe, having this theater built. And then the movie is building up until a certain moment as it is portrayed at the end, which I'll get to. And I think that the movie really takes its time and has a certain movement and flow about it that had me engaged, because I was also really into all of the directing and vision that Chloe Zhao had. She directs the crap out of this movie, to say the least, because she is a natural when it comes to having stories like these, following a select character or two and just really getting to know them, having us get to know them and just feel what they are feeling all throughout it. This also being a period piece, all of the technical merits of this movie had me just bask in seeing this thing, especially at a Dolby Theater at an AMC location, because of the sound design being so good. And then visually, the movie is quite a stunner. This is beautifully shot. The cinematographer is Lucas Zal, who is known for his prior Academy Award nominated works like 2018's Cold War. And the difference here is that while this movie was shot in a smaller aspect ratio and in black and white, Hamnet is done in color and in widescreen. A lot of shots of outside with foliage, flora and fauna, and just like the woods and like this little town in England where the Shakespeares are living and everything. And eventually we get to see the actual theater that is built with Shakespeare putting on Hamlet, and just even other stuff in between here. The costume design looks pretty accurate to having us feel like we are viewing this narrative taking place between the 16th and 17th centuries here. Of course, everything looking how it looks outside with the production design and the few moments that we see of actual towns or just the little village that the main characters are living in. And then, of course, the actual theater with it looking like it was built from the ground up in reality, just to have this be recreated for the sake of the whole story here. And all of this coming together, I mean, it runs at just over 2 hours. I think the movie has a sense about it that, you know, when the big moments do come, they had me, like, you know, really invested in seeing what I was supposed to be seeing and feeling, because of how this movie really is a devastating drama when it comes down to it. The movie is also co-edited by Zhao, and one thing I will say that I wasn't too big on, this is a minor quibble, nothing too big to sneeze at, sometimes the movie has a tendency to, with its editing and how it is cut, smash to black at certain moments and then come back. It threw me off only a couple of times or so, because, of course, that is a stylistic choice because of certain moments happening. But the rest of the editing, though, and also connecting with the pacing in the movie running at just over 2 hours, you know, it still had me into it and what it was going for, especially with its ending and all that comes in between. Before finally building up to now me talking about the conclusion, I should mention the music, because the original score was done by Max Richter. That name should be familiar to a lot of people, because he is known for having composed a piece called On the Nature of Daylight, which has been used in numerous pieces of media since it has been released. It has been notably used in 2010's Shutter Island, and also prominently in 2016's Arrival, which comes at certain emotional beats for that film. And this also notably got Arrival's original score by Johan Johansson disqualified at the Academy Awards because it was used so much in the movie. And here, he composes a lot of original material for Hamnet, and it's also gorgeously done. A lot of piano and more notably strings that he is known for, like with that piece On the Nature of Daylight. And I mentioned this specific song because when the movie goes into its final act, it's seeing us view a production of Hamlet with Shakespeare himself also participating. In real life, he was also an actor in his own plays. And we see certain creative choices be done here, including the use of that song. Now, many people have also cited it as being emotionally manipulative in whatever piece of media it has been used in, and you know where I'm getting with this, because already the emotional state of this movie and just it being all around tragic, but in the way it all plays out, and also completing the arcs of the characters and what we have been seeing this whole time, because also a rift has grown in between Agnes and William Shakespeare because of the death of their son. And then also a specific choice in that the actor playing Hamlet in this play is played by Jacoby Jupe's older brother, Noah Jupe, who has been seen in a lot of movies in between. But yeah, that's cool to see Noah Jupe and Jacoby Jupe are in the same movie. But that is clearly done on purpose. I mean, I noticed it, of course, but I don't know how many people are necessarily going to notice unless they recognize the names in the cast or anything like that prior to seeing this movie, or even after. But the way the movie all builds to the end, it goes into the final 5 minutes or so, and seeing this play be put on, and the whole thing in just it coming together, as you can probably tell right now, it left me speechless in more ways than one. Now, when I heard the opening bars of On the Nature of Daylight start playing, I was like, okay, here we go. I knew that was coming because of how many people talked about this film being composed by the same guy who did that piece and whatever. It really got to me. Now, I didn't cry like I joked about how I should have gotten tissues at the beginning of this video, but I was getting emotional. I was starting to well up and get teary-eyed because it's like, well, you combine it with the performances, you combine it with how it is all cut together and directed and everything in between. It was super effective. I thought it was excellently just electric in many ways, and how it all comes together and completing the arcs and just everything that we had seen up until this point, just us feeling this way, having our hearts being pulled out, but then put back into us and mended in some sort of way too. Honestly, this is probably my favorite final moment, or maybe my favorite final scene I have seen in any movie in 2025 thus far. And left me thinking. It just left me just feeling like I just went on this emotional ride. And with what Chloe Zhao has done as a director, now having done another movie, she really knocked it out of the park once again. And I feel that this movie, as I've stated quite a bit already, it's going to be a big awards contender. It's going to be in for many, many categories, I feel. And just even setting aside that, this is a film that instantly became one of my favorites of 2025 when it is all said and done. This is now my favorite movie of the year that's not named One Battle After Another. Haha. So, with that, even so, I mean, looking at it all together, this is a devastating drama that tributes Shakespeare while being utterly uplifting. It feels like it is all the sense of just the sadness of what this movie is about in the first place, but also not losing sight of what the movie is about in terms of having a ton of heart. It is super heartfelt, and how we see all the main performances and just everything come together with this movie. Again, honestly, I was quite taken by it, and I'm so happy and overjoyed to have seen this thing early, because this is not going to get a theatrical release here in the US, at least in a limited capacity, until next weekend for the Thanksgiving holiday. And then I also read it is not getting a wide release here in my country until December 12th. So I saw this thing basically weeks to a month in advance, and now that reviews are already out there with the universal acclaim this film has been getting, and just other people talking about it on the festival circuit, me being one of the first members of a public audience to have seen it outside of the festivals, I can say that I am pretty much in agreement with everyone in saying that yes, this is one of the best movies of 2025. It is now one of my favorite movies of the year. I highly recommend it. With all of that being said, my final verdict for Hamnet is 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Hamnet. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.